about why this is the way that it is and why that is the way that it is. And when you raise questions, the nature of the universe is when you raise questions, the answers start coming toward you as an individual just by you asking the question of yourself. You can ask yourself a question, and the answer to your question will start coming toward you. That's just the nature of the universe. The universe is set up that way. This is how a scientist makes the discovery. It starts, that scientist walking alone by the seashore will ask a question. I wonder what is on the other side. And little by little, answers will start coming. Or the means or the will to find the answers will start coming to that scientist or to that person, because every person is a scientist. Once they start asking questions, you become if a person asks you, according to the code, are you a scientist? You're not a scientist. A person might even make that statement. You're not a scientist. Are you a scientist? And your answer should be, after you think about it, what a scientist is, ask yourself. Before you answer, ask yourself, have I ever asked a question? Even if I just ask directions to the post office, have I ever in my life asked a question? And if you can tell yourself the truth, because you start with the truth, you want to answer this truthfully. If you have ever asked yourself a question, then the answer to that question, are you a scientist, is yes. Because you become a scientist the minute that you ask a question. Either ask that question of yourself or of another person. If you ask a person, how can I get to the post office? You are a scientist at that moment. And don't forget it. That's what you call logic. That's pure logic. Because everything in science starts with a question. And a person that raises a question is a scientist. That's codified thinking. See, when you start getting on that codified wavelength, when you start being exact like that, you don't get lost. You start finding yourself to start with, maybe for the first time.
So you're saying you start asking yourself questions, and then you have to just ask a lot of questions, and that's how you get the answer.
Yes. Babies come into the world asking questions. But see, the old school was, under slavery, we were taught that at a certain size, certain time, you tell that baby to shut up. Shut up. You're asking too many questions. There's no such thing as too many questions. See, the racists wanted to decodify us. They didn't want that to get off the ground. That baby starts asking too many questions, and you tell that baby, you're asking too many questions. Shut your mouth. Stop asking questions. Now, once you stop asking questions, you start dying. Your brain starts dying from that point on. Then you get to the place you don't want to answer to anything. You just want to walk around bumping into things like a robot. Because somebody told you to stop asking questions. Made you ashamed to ask questions. Started laughing at you when you ask a question, because they'll say, well, if you're asking the question, you must not know. When our reaction according to the code should be just the opposite. You say, of course I don't know. That's why I'm asking. And not only that, after I finish asking this question, I got 10,000 other questions to ask. Because I'm trying to learn. Because that's the way to learn. That's the fastest way to learn. Ask a question and get an answer. And then move on to the next question and get another answer. Then the next question and then get another answer. Next thing you know a whole lot. If you keep getting answers to questions. There's no other mechanics for doing that. But we have been taught to walk around acting like we know everything. And don't ask questions about nothing. Because we assume that we're supposed to know everything. The whole purpose for going to when you go into a school, just by walking in there and say, I want to learn, you are also announcing that I am ignorant. And you should be not ashamed to say that you're ignorant. You should state that as a fact. Because when you state that as a fact, it means you have opened up the gates to learning. But black people have been taught to walk around, chest stuck out, reared back, acting like we know everything when we don't hardly know anything that we need to know, except a bunch of foolishness. We should be the most question-asking people in the entire world. We should drive people crazy asking questions. And if people say, well, if someone tries to embarrass us by saying, well, are you smart? Don't you know something? We should say, no. I don't know anything close to what I need to know. And I'm going to keep asking questions until I learn everything that I need to know. And I'm not going to stop until I do. Now put that on and try it on for size. That's what we should tell the whole world.
And another person is saying that, well, what happens if you're asking questions and they're not giving you truthful answers, or they're being very deceptive?
You are learning about deception. See, you can't. When you ask a question, you're going to learn something. Like I was told something on the job once. They say, Fuller, you made up that list of questions and sent them up there to the front office, and you didn't get an answer. And I said, yes, I did. They said, well, what was it? When did they send it back? Did they send it back in writing? I said, no. Did they make a phone call or something? Or did you talk to somebody? No. Say, well, it's just like I said. They didn't answer you. I said, yes, they did. No answer is an answer. And that's exactly what I expected to get. See, I expected to get that when I made up the questions. That's what I mean by codification. You think ahead. Say, now when I put these questions out there, I'm anticipating I will not get an answer, except the answer will be no answer. And that's exactly what I want. Because I know how to use that too. See what I mean? That's codification. See, that's codification. When you anticipate that when you make a move, you anticipate what the response is going to be to the move that you made. Now, later on, I'm going to tell you how that worked. Later on, when people were talking about the questions that I raised, people had forgotten that I had raised these questions. So then I asked for verbal answers to my questions, because I said the answers that I received was nonverbal and non-written. And that was an answer. And I asked for an answer within a certain time frame. That time frame passed. Then I raised another question. See, the person who asked the questions always has the advantage. I said, now, why is it that when other people write things, they get a verbal or a written answer, and when I wrote a list of questions, I didn't get a verbal and a written answer? Why is that? And nobody could answer that question, or nobody was willing to. And that is exactly where I wanted everything to go in the first place. Because it threw everything in disarray, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. Because nobody wanted to explain. Everybody ran for cover, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. See, that's what we got to get in the habit of doing. Thinking ahead and thinking in depth. Not thinking of just one or two things and then saying that's it. No. Think of everything. Not thinking from A to Q and then dropping it because it sounds good. Thinking from A to Z and then double check it before you even put it out there. And be able to anticipate what's going to happen after you do what you do. Black people are filling up penitentiaries because they do not anticipate what's going to happen after they do what they do.
Well, Mr. Fuller, we're down to our last 4 minutes.
All right.
And so we need to wrap it up. And where can the people get your book? And what's the name of your book again?
The name of the book is Just Call It the Code. You can get a copy for $15 from me by just calling 202-484-5461. Call 202. Now, I'm in and out, so don't give up just because the phone rings and nobody answers, because most of the time somebody will answer, and that somebody will be me.
Okay.
That's 202-484-5461. 202-484-5461. I'm going to say it again. 202-484-5461. Now, I'd like to explain why I did that many times.
Okay. We got 3 minutes. Explain it within
Yes,
3
you have probably, the people who are listening to me have probably experienced it because I have experienced it. A person will come on a radio, and they will talk about a book that they have, or a product, or whatever it is, and they will say how you can get that product. Now, they will talk ad infinitum about what it is that they're talking about. But when it comes to how to get it, and they're given a phone number, that's the fastest thing that they say. They'll give out that phone number so fast, I mean, you know, it'll look like it went by like the road runner. And by the time you get a pencil, you didn't get it.
Right.
Now, I'm sure that there's somebody listening to me that has happened to, because it's happened to me a whole bunch of times. Now, see, that's not very excellent codified procedure. If you're going to give out a number of how someone can contact someone, you do it repeatedly, and you do it slowly.
Well, we have 2 minutes. Do it one more time, and then we're going to end it.
202-484-5461.
Again.
202-484-5461.
And you say the book costs how much?
$15.
Okay. Well,
but you can just contact me, and you know, and you get my address and all like that.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to thank you again, Mr. Fuller, for coming on and giving us this information.
Yes, and I understand I'm being recorded, so I'd like to have a copy, and there's a scientific reason for wanting a copy. I want to critique what I'm doing and what I'm saying, because I may have made some mistakes.
Well,
all mistakes have to be corrected by me, if I may.
Right. I'll make sure that you get a copy, Mr. Fuller.
All right, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Sure.
Thank you for listening. I'll be back again next Friday at 9 o'clock. Oh, tomorrow I'll be on at 7 o'clock, and I'm going to have a 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm going to have another interesting guest. So stop back by tomorrow, Saturday, September the 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will have another interesting guest on. So thanks for coming by and listening. Thanks again.